and that peace and quiet. I like peace and quiet. I don't like a lot of noise. So, you know, I can't think of anything worse than getting into a Porsche 911 and full revving it and going down the road, you know, all that noise, that smell, that pollution. It's Sean here, the EV Bloke, back with another video, and great to have you along this morning. Right, okay, I haven't done a video for a few days. I've been pretty busy, and but thank you for all the response I'm getting on the videos I've been doing up until now. I'm still very early along on my YouTube journey, I guess, and but it's good to know that some information is getting out there. But what I did want to do was address a few things that are cropping up. Like, as example, I work for BYD, which is a funny one. I just have a BYD product. It's a BYD Atto 3. I lease it, and you know, I've got it for 3 years, and you know, it's holding up well. I've got no issues with it. And I think a lot of the complaints come in about why you would support China, and I don't want to get political. This is not a political channel or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I don't even think of it that way. Plus, also, really, if we're going to start thinking like that, we've probably got to get rid of, if we're going to start denouncing all China products, then at the end of the day, we probably all got to get rid of our mobile phones. BYD make over half of mobile phones, by the way. They've got components inside them which are obviously from that are in mobile phones that they make. And that's how they started out, actually, was as a mobile tech company. So yeah, we've probably got to think that way if we're going to really go down that road. I don't want to get too deep into that. I don't make any apologies for having a Chinese product. I'm enjoying the product. I'm enjoying the way BYD as a company are going. Like I said, I don't work for them. I don't, you know, I'm not taking any payments from them or anything like that to do the content I do. I just literally just want to share with other people. You know, YouTube is a lot of things, but YouTube for me is about information. You know, I mean, sometimes when I want to know how to do something, I go to YouTube and discover it and find it out in a nice compact video that tells me how to do something, and that's great. And so that's really why I started this channel, was to sort of share my experiences with this car. It's one thing to do a review of a car where you pick a car up, do a quick whip round, do a review of it, and then drop it off and say the car's either rubbish or it does this or it does that or it does that. And I'm not having to go at any journalist. That's the way the format is, and that's the time they get with vehicles, and they're not spending loads of time with one vehicle, and that's fine. And they give very good basic overalls of cars. But if you want to know the nitty-gritty, day-to-day stuff of how the car's performing, how it works, you know, what's its charging like, you know, how's it holding up, you know, when you're driving on motorways, what kind of range you're getting out of the car, and all this sort of thing in real world scenarios like winter and all of that kind of stuff. So, and I'm happy to share that. And if I get questions or things that people want to know about the car, if I can possibly do it, I will do a video on it to help and share with other people. Maybe there's someone waiting to have it doesn't even have to be a BYD, just an electric car in general. And they might have something they want to understand or know about this vehicle. They've heard something about it and they want to know more. And by all means, I'll try and do videos on it for you guys to just help you understand it and know it more. But another thing I wanted to mention was, you know, there's a lot of poor press at the moment about electric vehicles, and some of it's justified, some of it isn't. You know, the charging infrastructure, for example, I have no complaints with people, whether they be electric car owners or combustion car owners, complaining about the fact they wouldn't convert to EVs because the infrastructure is not there. I mean, there's two things about that. One is that even back in the days when combustion cars first come out, there wasn't the infrastructure there. I mean, these things get built up over years. It's not an overnight thing where people can just suddenly, you know, find that they can just charge, in this case, charge anywhere and all the rest of it. Those days will come in the future where there'll be more and more availability and it'll become less and less of a problem. But I just think at the moment, you know, But I wanted to also address something about BYD in particular with regards to their batteries, because there's a certain YouTuber who most of you probably know. He's got quite a famous YouTube channel now, who was talking about BYD Burn Your Drive. Now, it's all tongue-in-cheek. He's got a fantastic channel, and I watch a lot of his videos, and, he's playing that game, really, of he owns an electric car, he's driving around in an electric car, but he hates electric cars. So, I mean, there's the first with scenario there, and he talks a lot about the depreciation of the vehicle, and that if he was to let it go, he would, it would be a loss to him. Okay, fine. But at the end of the day, that's all fine, and it's all fine to have made a mistake if you don't feel electric cars are for you. But I just wanted to speak a bit about the Blade battery that's actually in BYDs, because I don't want people to just take off the back of that these cars just catch a light at the slightest moment. That isn't what he said in the video, but I mean, and it's a tongue-in-cheek burn your drive, just to put the acronym in of BYD. I get that as well. But these actually are probably the best batteries out there. They're in Teslas. Tesla's have got these Blade batteries in, and the technology that goes into them. And I'll put some B-roll up in a minute, or some footage of the pressure testing that they do on the BYD batteries, where they send a nail in to really penetrate deep, and how it responds to that, and the outcome of that. And then they actually take a battery and put it in another vehicle and drive off in it. So these are probably the safest, if anything. I would be confident to say they are probably the safest batteries in an electric car you can get. So that's a fallacy, and that's all been sort of blown out of proportion there in that regard. And I think even in general, electric cars are pretty safe, and I don't think they're going to really catch fire. There's not that much proof of that happening on a regular basis, and I think you're fine. The Porsche Macan has just released a boat, like a speedboat type of thing, with a full Macan battery in it, and that's going in water. So I'm sure we're safe. And in actual fact, that's another thing I wanted to bring up, was kind of the future. Are electric cars the future? Well, I think they actually are the future, contrary to a lot of stuff that you see in the press nowadays. And, the hesitation really is on price. And again, I think we're in a transitional period. What we're in is a transitional period for electric. We're not in this, not a future. We're in a transitional period. The price of cars will come down. I'm going to put some footage up in a short while of the BYD Seagull that's coming out, and that will be hitting the UK roads either later on this year or next year. And when this car comes out, it's going to be a really affordable car, and you're going to see more and more. You're going to see more and more cars, electric cars, becoming more and more affordable. We're already starting to see it a little bit. There'll still be a very expensive high-end cars, as there is with combustion cars. It's no different. And I've mentioned in one of my other videos, there has to be price parity, where it has to even itself off a little bit. Whether they ever get down to some very cheap combustion cars, I don't know. But what I do know is that there will be affordable cars, electric cars, in the future. And the infrastructure will catch up with it as well. The infrastructure is not going to remain as it is right now forever. So there's that to think about, So, yeah, I think essentially what I'm trying to say in all of this is that, to counter some arguments out there and some press out there, I do think they are the future, and I think they will be. You get a lot of comments about, well, the government themselves are driving around in Range Rovers and stuff, which is true. But I think they have to have a certain standard of vehicle with regards to being bulletproof. It has to have a high safety spec aspect of it. And probably there maybe isn't that kind of a car produced at the moment to run around the Mayor of London or the Prime Minister and that kind of thing. And so therefore, for their own safety, they probably are not allowed to be. It's not to say they can't do it, and they probably will do it. And you probably will eventually see them in electric cars. I don't know. But Yeah, so them shoving on to us about electric and ramming down our throats about having electric cars and themselves are driving around in petrol vehicles. Although I understand that argument to a certain degree, I also think it's probably where we're at with technology again. So a lot of these things are about where we're at with the technology. Even though the first Tesla would come out in I think 2011, 2012, and you had the Nissan Leaf come out the same similar time, and then the BMW i3 came out, and some of these early cars that came out. Uh, but if you think about it, that's only sort of 13 years of technology, which is actually nothing when you think of the over 100 years of combustion car technology, if you like. So there's a lot of catching up to do, or not so much catching up to do, a lot of transitioning to do, and that will take time. And I firmly believe that. I think we're nowhere near it on the infrastructure. We still need to get a lot more. And the thing is, these cars are just so lovely to drive. You know, they if you think of your tailpipe emissions around your towns and cities, you just put all electric cars in there. Think of that clean air as well. That clean air around the cities and towns is better. They just drive so much better. The torque is amazing on these cars. It's instant, which is really handy for when you're pulling out of junctions and roundabouts and stuff like that. You can keep up with the flow of traffic because you've got the power there essentially to be able to do it. You never feel like you're out of control with it. It's just the way it is. And that peace and quiet. I like peace and quiet. I don't like a lot of noise. So I can't think of anything worse than getting into a Porsche 911 and full revving it and going down the road. You know, all that noise, that smell, that pollution. You know, we've come out of the times now of wearing masks. Obviously, we were all wearing masks in the pandemic, and you know, I always carry a mask around with me now because at the end of the day, I know when I'm going to get out at supermarkets or if I happen to go to a charger that's near a petrol. We're starting to see a lot more chargers going in near petrol stations, by the way, which I think is also going to be in the future where you're going to see a transition of the pumps. Your petrol and diesel pumps are going to start decreasing, and you're going to start seeing the um, electric charging points increasing and sort of almost taking over. So eventually there'll be a reduction and eventually a phase out of these fuel tanks, and they're just going to be full of electric hubs basically with cafes on them. Because us EV drivers, yes, we like a coffee. We really do. We love to have a coffee. We love to sit down, have a coffee while our cars are charging, and while away the time and just enjoy ourselves. Really, nothing wrong with charging. And I have so many comments about, I just jump into my petrol car and drive to Scotland, and I don't need to stop. Well, if you can drive from where I live in the southwest to Scotland and don't stop, or Mansfield, or wherever it is you're going, and on your journey, if you don't need to stop for a toilet break, something to eat, good luck to you. My bladder is telling me after 2.5, 3 hours of driving, I'm getting older now, that I need to pull over and go to the toilet really. So while I do there, a 15, 20 minute instant charge up, on your way you go again. So, you know, and that's it. So yes, you have to plan your journey a lot more than maybe you do in a vehicle like that. But most of these cars now are getting routing systems in them that just take you to the chargers anyway. It's effortless, really. You haven't got to actually worry about that at all. It's just very, very easy. So I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, so I just wanted to make those kind of few points, really. So, the BYD, I believe, are safe cars. And if you want to entertain an electric vehicle or you're thinking of buying a BYD, then don't let the fact that it's going to burst up into flames tomorrow worry you. It's definitely not. There's a very safe battery in this car. And, I'd rather more worry about getting into a combustion car. than I would an electric car at this point. And there's a lot of technology going into them, and they're doing really well. So I've got no issues with that at all. So yeah, so that's all I wanted to say, really. And I'm going to start doing more road trips now, and I'm going to start showing you how easy it is to own an electric car. I'm going to start showing you how it's just effortless, really, to have an electric car. All this thing about stress and waiting at charging points, and you can't get charged, and the wind and the rain, ruins your range. Which, yes, it does, but you factor all that in. You see, you just factor it all in. It's not a big deal. Where electric cars are now to where they'll be in 20 years' time, where the technology in the cars would just be doing everything for you. So you'll just be literally looking at the screen, and it'll be factoring where you need to drive in. We'll probably be self-driving by then, so you won't even have to drive. You won't even have to drive the car. It'll just literally navigate you to the charger. You fuel it up, and on you go. And the speed times now we're starting to see with Porsche. Porsche, by the way, which is quite interesting for Porsche, really. Whether you have a Porsche Taycan or whatever it might be, any of the electric Porsches that we're starting to see, it's always been felt that this won't last, But now the Porsche Macan is only going to be available in electric, so it's not going to be available as a hybrid. It's not going to be available as a combustion car. It's just going to be available as a pure electric car. So what that basically tells you is that from a Porsche point of view, they're going to now start to probably, because you have to do a dedicated platform for something that's all electric, essentially, really. So that means that other cars coming along in the future, the 911, these will all be electric, and you'll be able to drive along with your fake sound, no engine noise. You just drive along, fake sound, if you want the fake sound on, or just totally dead. No sound at all, just peaceful and quiet, and you'll be zooming along, and everything will be wonderful. So that's basically the kind of future there. So the main point in there about the Macans is that's going to be on a dedicated platform, as I already mentioned earlier about the boats they've released using this very same battery. So we're mixing water and batteries, but it seems to be fine. No problems. No boats have exploded yet. Because that's another point is, that we don't have any overhead protection for when we're doing our charging, which we should have cover canopies. Why not? But it's actually really safe to charge your car up under a canopy-less charger, whether it be down the back of some car park or whether it be in some area where there's a row of chargers. You'll be fine. Yeah. So yeah, I've rambled on a bit. I don't know if a lot of this has made sense. It probably hasn't. But I will be doing more videos from now on, and I will be tackling the issues of anti-EVs, really, and trying to address some of the questions that are popping up about how they're just not the future. But I'm here to tell you that EVs are the future, and combustion engine cars are going to fossil their way out of existence. But that peace and quiet while you're driving, it's just wonderful, smooth. You've got no raucous noise coming. You've got no downshift, upshift, no gears to change. It's just, everything is just smooth about everything. None of this jerking around and, through the gears we go, just foot down and away you go. You can go away as rapidly as you want or as slow as you want. Either way, it's just going to be a smooth, wonderful experience driving an electric car, believe me. Anyway, I shall catch you on the next one, where I should be going out in my wonderful electric car, and I'll be teaching you and showing you just how easy and amazing it is to live with an electric car. Great, see you on the other side, and you have a great day, guys.